Most people don't talk about the drawer by the phone, the one with rubber bands, old receipts, maybe a grocery list from 10 years ago. But when you open it, it's not paper that spills out. It's time. It's memories. It's a version of you that still lives there, quietly waiting to be seen. This video isn't about throwing things out. It's not about speed. It's about something softer. These 7 tricks I'm about to share helped Marlene, a 71-year-old woman in Wisconsin, clear decades of clutter in just 48 hours. But more importantly, they helped her breathe again. If you let them, they might help you too. This video won't push you, but it will help you feel lighter, bit by bit, moment by moment, drawer by drawer. Marlene had lived in her home for over 40 years, the kind of house where the carpet remembers every Christmas, where the hallway still smells faintly of baby powder, where no one really used the guest room, but it still held extra towels, just in case. In the back of her bedroom closet, wrapped in tissue, was a pair of white gloves, delicate, lacy, folded like they were waiting for Sunday church. She hadn't worn them in decades, but she never let them go. When I asked why, she looked down and said, "My mother bought them for me when I turned 16. She said, 'A lady always has a proper pair of gloves.'" And then she smiled, small, soft. I don't wear gloves anymore, but I think I was holding on to the way she believed in me. She didn't throw them away. She placed them in a small shadow box, hung it by the door she walks past every morning. She said, "Now I don't keep them in the dark. I walk by the memory. I greet it. Then I keep going." If you've ever kept something, not because you need it, but because you weren't ready to lose what it represented, this might be the beginning you've been waiting for. Let's start with the first trick. It has nothing to do with what you let go of, and everything to do with what you choose to keep. Trick 1. Start with the yes pile. Do you ever feel like everything in the room is asking you to decide all at once? That's the heaviness so many people feel when they try to declutter. Every item becomes a question. Every drawer turns into a test. But what if you didn't have to start with what to throw away? What if you started with what you already know you love? This first trick is simple. Begin by building your yes pile. Don't touch what confuses you. Don't decide about the hard things yet. Just look around and pick 5 to 10 items that bring you peace, joy, a quiet smile. Place them in a corner. These are the pieces that stay. No guilt, no questions, just yes. That's what Marlene did. On the first morning, we didn't open a single box. We walked through her living room and I asked her, "What in here do you know, without a doubt, you'd want to keep?" She looked around, hesitated, then pointed to a small rocking chair. "That was my son's," she said. "We used to read there every night before bed." Then she picked up a chipped mug with faded sunflowers. "My husband gave me this the year he built the garden. It leaks now, but I still drink from it." One by one, her yes pile began to grow. A photo, a scarf, a music box that still played Edelweiss when you turned the key just right. I watched her body shift, from tense to tender, from unsure to remembering. What she didn't say, but I could feel, was the quiet fear of choosing wrong, of throwing away something she might miss, of losing a part of herself in the process. But starting with yes gave her a way back to center. I've seen that same shift in many homes. I remember once keeping a yellowed postcard from my grandfather. No date, just 3 words. "Keep being you." It stayed taped to the inside of my desk drawer for 26 years. Not useful, but it anchored me when the rest of the room felt like too much. That was my yes. We don't always need to begin with letting go. Sometimes we begin by remembering what still holds us. Start with what stays, let the rest catch up later. And once you have that small pile of yeses, something changes. The room feels different. You're no longer drowning in decisions. You're surrounded by what matters. Now let's move to the next trick. One that doesn't ask you to decide at all, just to take 6 quiet minutes and touch what you've forgotten. Trick 2, the 6-minute touch rule. When was the last time you touched something you hadn't looked at in years? And it surprised you with how much it still meant? We often avoid certain boxes, certain drawers, because we think, that'll take too long. But most of the time, it's not the task that's heavy. It's the emotion. That's why I always suggest this. Don't plan to sort it all. Just give yourself 6 minutes. Set a timer. No pressure to keep or toss. No decisions. Just touch. Open the box. Run your fingers across what's inside. Let the memory speak. That's all. That's what Marlene did on the second morning. She had a hope chest at the end of her bed, covered with a crocheted runner. Inside were things she hadn't opened since her mother passed, over 20 years ago. When the timer started, her hands trembled, but she opened the lid anyway. Inside, a pair of knitting needles, a box of letters wrapped in ribbon, and a pale green apron with a faded apple pie stain right at the hip. She held the apron close, didn't say a word, then whispered, "She always wore this when she baked. I forgot how small she was." That was the moment everything shifted. Not because she made a decision, but because she felt something again. Grief, love, longing, all braided into that one simple touch. It wasn't about decluttering, it was about connection. And here's the truth most people don't say out loud. The fear isn't about the stuff. It's about the wave of emotion that might rise up when we finally touch it. I've felt that wave myself. Years ago, I found an old tie my father wore to my high school graduation. I kept it, loose in a drawer, thinking I might wear it one day. I never did. But when I picked it up again, after he passed, I remembered how he adjusted it 3 times in the mirror. Nervous, proud, trying not to cry. I held that memory in my hands for 6 minutes. I didn't need more. Sometimes we don't need to sort. We just need to feel again. And once you allow yourself to feel, without judgment, without a goal, the hardest boxes become a little softer. Let's move to the third trick now, one that invites you to speak a quiet goodbye and turn letting go into something sacred. Trick 3, say goodbye out loud. Have you ever tried to let something go, but the silence made it harder? So many of us part with things quietly, almost secretly. We wrap the sweater, close the box, drop it in a bag for donation. But something about the silence makes it feel wrong, like the item didn't matter, like we're walking away without a proper ending. That's why I always suggest this. Before you let it go, say goodbye out loud. Just a sentence, a whisper, a thank you. When we speak to the object, we recognize what it meant, and that recognition makes release feel like reverence, not rejection. Let me tell you about Helen. She's 75, lives in a small house in Ohio, and had a shoebox of birthday cards from her husband. He passed away 8 years ago. Every year he'd write something a little silly, always in blue ink, always with too many exclamation points. She kept the box at the back of her closet, said she didn't read them, just liked knowing they were there. But they'd started to yellow. The box was soft around the edges. One day she told me, "I think I'm ready to stop holding them, but I don't know how." So we set them out on her kitchen table. She made a pot of coffee, lit a candle. One by one, she read each card aloud, laughed, teared up. On the final one, the last card he ever gave her, she placed her hand over the page and said, "You were a good man. Thank you for writing to me." Then she tied the cards with ribbon, kept 3, and released the rest. She didn't just toss them in recycling. She placed them in the fire pit behind her house, watched the edges curl in the wind, and said, "He's not in the paper. He's in me." That was her return, her homecoming. Because the truth is, many of us are afraid that letting go means forgetting, that saying goodbye means saying it's over. But sometimes the goodbye is what allows the memory to stay, more gently. I remember the first time I spoke aloud to something before releasing it. It was my mother's mixing bowl, heavy, worn. It had a small chip on the rim from when I was 10. I dropped it trying to stir pancake batter too fast. I held it in both hands, and before I let it go, I said, "Thank you for every Sunday morning." Then I gave it to a local family shelter and walked away lighter. We don't let go to forget. We let go to make room for memory to live, not linger. Now let's move to the next trick, one that shows you how to work through overwhelm by simply zooming in to one shelf at a time. Trick 4. Use the one room, one shelf lens. Have you ever walked into a room and turned right back around because you didn't know where to begin? That's something I hear all the time. I want to declutter. I really do. But the house feels too big, too full. And the truth is, when we look at the whole picture, it can feel paralyzing. That's why this next trick is so powerful. Don't look at the house. Don't even look at the room. Just look at one shelf. Choose one room. In that room, choose one shelf. That's it. Not a cabinet, not a closet, not the whole corner. One shelf, no more. That's what Evelyn did. She's 73, lives in Georgia, and had been avoiding her craft room for years. It used to bring her joy, painting, quilting, gluing seashells to picture frames. But after her arthritis worsened, she stopped going in. The room became still, and stillness turned into guilt. She said, "I just don't have the energy to fix it. I open the door, and I want to cry." And she did open the door. She looked at the paints, the brushes, the fabric she never cut. But then she chose one shelf, just the one above the sewing machine. It had a mason jar full of buttons, a rusted tin of needles, and a tiny ceramic cat her granddaughter made in 4th grade. She dusted it off, kept the cat, let the rest go. That one shelf, it changed something. She stood taller, her shoulders softened. She said, "I don't feel stuck in this room anymore. I feel like I touched part of myself again." Evelyn always loved creating, and she still does. But her silent fear, the one she never said out loud, was this: that if she stopped making things, she'd stop being who she was. I understood that more than I care to admit. I used to keep an entire box of photography equipment in my basement. Lenses, tripods, cords I didn't know the name of anymore. I kept telling myself, one day I'll pick it back up. But the truth was, I hadn't taken a real photo in over a decade. So one morning I picked one camera, the one I used the day my daughter graduated. I placed it on my bookshelf in the living room. I donated the rest. And in doing that, I didn't say goodbye to photography. I said hello to the version of me that still remembers light. You don't have to clear the whole space. Just begin with one small place that remembers you. Let's move to the next trick now, one that helps you hold on to what matters by choosing one item to honor and gently releasing the rest. Trick 5. Frame 1. Donate 10. Is there a box in your house filled with things that meant the world, but now just sleep in the dark? We often keep entire collections because we're afraid to break the story. A whole drawer of scarves, a jewelry box full of pieces we haven't worn in decades, each one tied to a face, a season, a heartbeat. But here's the gentle trick. You don't have to keep them all. Choose one to honor, frame it, display it. Let it live where you can see it every day, and let the rest go where they can serve someone new. That's what Teresa did. She's 68 from Minnesota, and for 20 years she kept a velvet pouch filled with brooches that belonged to her mother. Some were missing stones, some she never really liked, but she couldn't bring herself to let them go. One morning she pulled them out, 13 in total, and spread them across the dining table. Tiny birds, a violin, a pink rose that had once sat proudly on her mother's coat. She stared at them for a long time. Then she picked one, the silver hummingbird with turquoise eyes, and whispered, "This one always reminded me of her laughter." She bought a small shadow box, placed the brooch on linen, added a black and white photo of her mother smiling beside a rose bush, hung it in the hallway by the front door. The other 12? She cleaned them carefully, wrapped each one in tissue, and donated them to a women's shelter in the city. "Let someone else wear something beautiful," she said. That's what she would have wanted. Her quiet fear, the one buried under all those years, was this: that letting go of the rest meant loving her mother less. But the opposite happened. By choosing one piece to celebrate, she deepened the connection, made the memory visible, made it part of her home, not just her storage. I've done the same. Years ago, I had a shoebox filled with birthday cards from my daughter, crayon hearts, stick figures. "Love you, Daddy," in wobbly letters. I couldn't keep them all. They were fading, yellowing. So I chose one. The one she made when she was 7. A drawing of us on a park bench, with the sun smiling above our heads. I framed it, put it by my reading chair. It still makes me smile every time I see it. When we frame one thing with love, we free the rest without guilt. Let's move to the next trick now. It's one of my favorites. because it asks a question that turns clutter into kindness. Who might need this more than me? Trick 6. Ask, who needs this more than me? Is there something you're keeping, not because you still use it, but because you don't know what else to do with it? We all have those items. A coat that doesn't fit, a blender still in the box, a stack of towels we haven't touched since 2002. They sit quietly, waiting. And the truth is, we're not really using them. We're just afraid to let them go without meaning. That's why this trick is one of the gentlest. When you're holding something and can't decide, try asking this, who needs this more than me? It's a simple question, but it turns clutter into care. Let me tell you about Joyce. She's 74, lives in Oregon, and had a hallway closet full of coats. Hers, her husband's. Even one her son wore to prom in the 90s. She hadn't opened that closet in years. It's not hurting anyone, she said. They're just hanging there. And they were. Quiet. Forgotten. But one winter, her church started a coat drive for unhoused families in the neighborhood. She looked at that closet, and something shifted. She kept her favorite wool one, the one that still made her feel elegant. And then she reached for her late husband's parka, brown, faded, still smelled like Old Spice. She held it, and for a long moment, didn't move. Then she said, he would have hated knowing it just sat here. He'd want someone warm. She donated 6 coats that day. When she dropped them off, she placed his on top, smoothed the sleeves, and whispered, go keep someone else safe now. Joyce didn't just clean her closet. She extended her love into the world. But I know the quiet fear that came with it. The fear that giving something away might mean the memory fades. That love, once passed on, might feel less yours. I've been there too. I once held on to a box of my mother's kitchenware. Wooden spoons, pie tins, a rolling pin with a chipped handle. I hadn't used them in years. They reminded me of cinnamon mornings and music playing on the radio. But I also knew a young single mom at my church who'd just moved into her first apartment. So I packed them carefully, wrapped each spoon, added a little note. These were part of a warm kitchen. I hope they help make yours too. When we give with memory, we don't lose the meaning, we multiply it. Let's move now to the final trick. It's the softest one of all, and it doesn't involve sorting or donating. It's about ending each day with something we often forget to give ourselves, acknowledgement. Trick 7. End each day with a quiet celebration. Have you ever finished something hard, but forgot to tell yourself, well done? When we declutter, we tend to think only in terms of what's next, what else needs to be done, what we didn't finish, and we forget. This work isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's brave, and it deserves to be honored. That's why this last trick is simple, and maybe the most important. At the end of each session, pause, light a candle, play a soft song, place your hand over your heart, and whisper, I did enough today. That's what Margaret did. She's 79, a retired nurse in North Carolina. Her husband passed 3 years ago, and she'd been slowly clearing out the garage they built together. Every Saturday, she'd spend an hour out there, sorting tools, old Christmas lights, garden gloves with tiny holes in the fingers. One day I asked her, how do you end your sessions? She smiled, said, I make a cup of chamomile tea, sit in my rocker, and light the same candle I used at our wedding, just for 5 minutes. She looked down and added, I don't cry every time, but when I do, it feels right. Her quiet fear? That if she didn't finish it all fast, she was somehow failing. That progress only counted when it was visible. But healing doesn't work like that. It's not measured in trash bags. It's felt in the breath that returns when a room begins to soften. I've done the same thing myself. When I helped clear my father's study, I lit a single match at the end of each day. Just one, not to burn anything, but to remind myself that I was still here, still steady, still walking him home, even after he was gone. Sometimes the softest victories are the ones that matter most. And when you treat your effort with tenderness, you don't burn out. You begin to build something new, slowly, gently, beautifully. Now that we've walked through all 7 tricks together, I want to leave you with something even more important than a clean shelf, a full heart. Let's take a moment to breathe, and then I'll meet you in the closing, where we'll gently look back and take the first step forward. We didn't just clear rooms today, we made space for breath, for memory, for peace, for a quiet kind of hope that lives between the shelves, for the version of you that's ready to come forward, softer and lighter. Maybe your house still feels full. That's okay. You don't need to do everything today. Maybe just one shelf, one corner, one breath-sized drawer. Start small. Let it be enough. And when you reach in, ask not, do I use this? But does this still comfort me? That one question can change everything. Now I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what's one item you're ready to bless and release? Or maybe one you're still not ready to. I read every story. I carry them in my pocket like old keys, familiar, worn, always with me. If this video gave you something, peace, permission, a pause, share it with someone who's been waiting to exhale. Someone sitting in a quiet room, surrounded by things they don't know how to say goodbye to. Let them know they're not alone. Because we're not decluttering alone. We're walking each other home.